I told my client to go back to her abusive relationship, not because I want any woman to be harmed or because I think that he changed or that love fixes abuse. And it was not because I'm confused about what a trauma bond is. I told her to go back if that's what she needed because she had already broken no contact. She already felt ashamed. She was already experiencing deep pain, and she was standing in the brutal in-between space where you have one foot in the past and one foot in the present, and you're getting ripped in half. Healing from abuse is not linear. It's not just leave, go no contact, block him, and move on. That advice is very easy to say when you've never had your nervous system tied to someone who hurt you and then made you believe you needed them to survive the pain that they caused. It's easy to say when you've never had your body shake because you didn't answer a text fast enough. That advice is easy to say when you've never had people judging you from the outside while you're trying to untangle something that has its own chemistry in your blood. This episode is about the thing that nobody will talk about, but I will. Some women do not leave the first time. Others do not go no contact and stay there. Some women do need the door to close in their body, not just on paper, because if it doesn't close, then the body will find a reason to reopen it. And if you're listening to this and you feel mad already, good, please stay. Because the women who need this episode are drowning in shame, and shame is the one emotion that keeps them stuck the longest. And if you've ever watched a woman break no contact and felt the urge to shake her by her shoulders, this episode is going to change how you see her. Because the women who go back are not stupid. They are trying to complete something their nervous system cannot finish without a final level of truth landing in their body. And I need to say this with my whole chest because the internet loves to play hero in the comment sections. Just leave, block him, go no contact, have self-respect. People say it to you like you're leaving a job or a gym membership. Like you don't have years of attachment, hope, fear, chemistry, memory, and survival wiring wrapped around one person. Like you don't already know you're going to feel worse before you feel better. Like your body will not revolt. Like your mind will not bargain with you. Like your grief will not drag you back. A woman can do the external exit and still not be free. She can block the number and still wake up thinking about him. She can stop replying and still feel like she's dying inside. She can be out and still be bonded. So when I told my client she could go back if that's what she needed, I was not giving her permission to be mistreated. I was giving her something she was not able to get anywhere else. A safe container where she could tell the truth without being shamed for the stage of abuse that she was in. Because shame does not free women. It keeps them loyal to the lie. I'm going to set a hard boundary about what I'm going to talk about because I refuse to be reckless in public. If you live with an abuser, share kids, finances, a space, or there is physical danger, this is not the same situation. The priority for you from me is going to be your safety, always, full stop. This episode is about a specific client in a specific type of relationship with a specific decision inside of a bounded container. After she broke no contact, the question for me was not, can she white knuckle no contact again? The question was, how do we stop her from abandoning herself while she tries to get free? I'm Meaghan Webster. I'm an abuse recovery coach, a trauma-informed strategist, and the woman a narcissist hopes to never meet twice. This is the Narcissist Worst Nightmare podcast where I do not force you into a version of healing I think you need. I meet you where you are, and I speak to you with love, respect, and acknowledge that you are a woman whose nervous system has been living inside of psychological warfare and risk management, and what you really need is the truth to be seen, heard, and not surface-level bullshit. This episode is for the woman who broke no contact and is terrified to admit it. For the woman who did leave and still feels like her mind is trapped in the relationship. For the woman who keeps hearing just leave like she must be weak or stupid and she cannot understand what other people put so simply. On today's episode, I'm going to walk you through a client experience, why I said what I said, what I was solving for, what I will never do as a coach, and how you actually move through the emotional exit in a way that doesn't shame you into silence. My client was in an abusive relationship for 3 or 4 years, emotional abuse, psychological abuse. They did not live together, they did not share kids or finances, but they did work at the same company, not directly, but close enough that there was overlap, proximity, threat, and pressure. She found me through listening to this podcast, and when she came in, we did a lot of what people would think is right on paper. We worked toward no contact, which took about a month because no contact is not an app setting. It's withdrawal. It's your body screaming for the thing that hurt you because your body learned to regulate through the cycle. And she did it. She went no contact, and it was extremely brutal for her. She did have some great moments, real moments where you can see her coming back online, but then there would be a crash. The pain didn't disappear just because she stopped talking to him. If anything, the silence made the attachment louder because now her brain was trying to solve for the missing piece. Then she broke no contact, and what most people will not understand is this. Breaking no contact doesn't happen because women love being hurt. It happens because their nervous system is still bondage to the person and the pattern. It happens because the fantasy is still somewhat alive, because the body has not accepted what the mind already knows, and because the shame is so loud that she hides it, and hiding keeps that pattern alive. She didn't tell me right away. She was scared to, but she did share it inside of the RRR membership community first. Most women do not have a place to tell the truth without being punished for it. She was already carrying judgment from friends and family, and that judgment was making her more dysregulated, not less. The outside pressure was turning the inside pain into something sharper. By the time her and I got on a private call, she was explaining what had happened after she broke no contact, what came out, what he was saying, how she was feeling. And she was emotionally dysregulated in a way that I hadn't seen her yet. She was trying to tell the story, but her body was still very much in those moments. So you're not just speaking it, you're actually reliving it. And as I listened, I could hear the trap. And I told her something that I want to share with you. She had a foot in the past, what had happened, what was going on, how it felt, and a foot in the present, where she thought she should be, where she wanted to be, and she was trapped there. And the only way is through. Because she was stuck in the worst possible place. She was not fully out. She couldn't start rebuilding. She wasn't fully in, so she couldn't stop suffering. She was in that limbo where you're constantly scanning and overthinking and checking and reliving, decoding things, and feeling the pull of the trauma bond, all while hating herself for it. People think the choice is simple: leave or stay, no contact or contact, block him or don't. They do not understand the choice is a trauma bond that a woman is actually living inside. So what I told her is that she had two options. One was to go back to ground zero with her recovery, no contact, start over, accept that this was withdrawal and we would do the work again. Treat it like a relapse in recovery and not something about her human. The second option was to stop pretending like she was out when she was mentally in it. If she was going to go back anyway, then to do it consciously, gather information, gather data, see it through until the fantasy dies, let the door close fully so she could shut it without regret. I told her that I do not judge her for either option and I stand behind her either way. I am not here to control her. I am not here to make her perform healing so she looks strong. My job is to get her safe in her body so she can make an informed decision for herself that she can actually hold. She decided to see it through. This is called context-based coaching. She wasn't in a situation where her physical safety was on the line every day. She did not live with him. She wasn't sharing a home where leaving would trigger immediate escalation in the same way that it can for women who are trapped inside cohabitation. She wasn't dealing with kids or custody or finances that would make contact an ongoing reality regardless. I knew the relationship dynamics, I knew her patterning, I knew her capacity, and I knew the shame that she was carrying. The problem I was solving was not how do we get her to go no contact again. The problem was how do we stop shame from controlling the entire process? Because shame makes women lie. It makes them hide. It makes them defend the relationship or the abuser, abandon themselves so they can look like they're doing the right thing. But ultimately, shame makes them stay longer because they feel like if they leave and go back again, they will not be respected. What I was doing was building a safe container for her to explore what she needed to without being judged for it. Not a container where she could drift back into the relationship. One where she could tell the truth, gather the information, and land on a decision that was hers and hers alone.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
There are conversations we have, and then there are the ones we think about but don't always say out loud.
The ones that happen late at night, over dinner, or long walks. The conversations that don't have a clear conclusion but somehow change us.
This podcast started as two friends sitting down to talk honestly about life, relationships, communication, expectations, identity, and the space between us.
We're not here to give advice or pretend we have it all figured out.
We're here to slow things down, to stay curious, and to explore what happens when we actually listen to ourselves and each other.
This is the foundational pieces of how I work. It's never going to be my job to tell a woman she's being abused. I will not do that. I will hold a mirror to your patterns. I will hold truth. I will tell you the dynamics, but I will not force language on someone before she is ready to hold the cost. If you push somebody too early, they protect the relationship, the fantasy, the abuser, and they will shut down. Not because of anything else, but the psyche protects itself in layers. The body often knows before the identity can truly accept it. So my job is to hold the mirror long enough that she stops abandoning herself around what she does already know logically. I have a very strong opinion about this just leave conversation that a lot of people like to throw around. It needs to be absolutely trashed, and I'm not saying that for like a shock value. If you're leaving work or the gym or your car or a store, you do not need risk management. You just leave. It's an action. It is logical. When you're exiting a relationship where there's been harm and attachment and emotional injury, your nervous system is tied to that person. Your brain has been trained to predict them, manage them, respond to them, and stabilize around them. So leaving will not feel like relief at first for most women. It often feels like withdrawal, grief, panic, craving, and an identity collapse. And nobody wants to hear that, right? They want you to be the woman who walks out with a bag and never looks back. They want the ending that makes them comfortable because the messy version forces them to acknowledge what this actually is. A trauma bond is not a decision problem. It is not lack of self-respect. It is nervous system wiring, patterning, and your body treating the cycle like it's home. That is why a lot of women will feel worse after leaving, because the person is gone, but the nervous system is still active, which is why just leave is not the full conversation. It is one piece. It's the external exit. If the internal exit does not happen, she can change addresses and still be living inside the relationship in her mind. This is what I was seeing in my client. She wanted to be free so badly. She wanted the pain to stop. She wanted to be done, but she was not ready yet. And I'm not going to punish a woman for being honest about what her body can handle. The length of time that you spend in an abusive relationship is often the length of time you need to commit to healing. And people hate when I say that. They want a quick fix. They want something that makes them feel better. 1 month of no contact and then no pain, or one program and then they never think about him again. That's not actually how your body works to heal. My coaching will always be a whole person approach, but that didn't start with just me. I talk a lot on my podcast and my social media platforms about my abusive marriage, but I don't talk a lot about the abusive relationship that was before that. It was almost 4 years, emotional, physical, psychological, financial, and sexual. The kind of relationship where you leave but you really don't. You swear you were done and you are back the next day. You hate yourself and you still miss him. You're certain and then you're wildly confused again. I tried to leave that relationship 11 times. In the last year of that relationship, I was trying to get and stay sober, and I was in AA. I had a sponsor. She knew what was happening, and on my first ever 6 months of consecutive sobriety, I was chairing a meeting. I was running the meeting for a room of women that were trying to get or stay sober. My phone was on the table face up, and I saw the calls start coming in. Then I saw the texts, "Where are you?" I felt that immediate need to respond with pure panic that so many women will recognize in their bodies, that you have to fix this now or something bad is going to happen. My mind went blank and I asked my sponsor to step in for me. I answered a couple of texts and I said to the room, "I am so sorry, but I have to go." I then got up to go to the elevators and I was sweating, I was shaking, my whole nervous system was screaming at me to get home as fast as possible because he was already freaking out. And I could feel the consequence before it was already happening. And I had a moment where I was standing there, the elevator doors open. I went to go inside and I thought, I can't do this. This is the first time I've had 6 months of sobriety in 15 years. This is my meeting. These are my people. There is no way I'm going to leave. So I walked back into my sponsor's apartment. I finished the meeting. I had cake with them. I delayed leaving by about half. She looked at me and she said, "Call me if you need me when you get home." When I got home, that was the first day that I'd experienced physical abuse. I am not going to go into great detail, but I was harmed badly enough that I could not drive. I called my sponsor, she came to get me, and I stayed at her place that night. I remember thinking to myself, I never saw this coming. The next day, when she got home from work, we talked. And this is going to sound very insane if you've never lived this, but if you have lived this, you are going to nod along. He and I had already spoken. We'd already worked things out. I had already started rationalizing to her. He didn't mean it. He was frustrated. I was late. Dinner wasn't made. I was already back in the loop of explaining away a situation I was still shaking from. And she said something to me that changed my life forever, and it's one of the reasons why I'm able to coach the way that I do today. She said, "Meg, you need to go back as many fucking times as you need to and experience enough pain and gather enough understanding that you can close the door with no regret. Otherwise, you're going to keep going back to that person, and that's not okay." So I did go back. A few days later, the harm escalated, and that was my door closed moment. I walked away. There was one moment after that where we did meet in public for coffee. I can still tell you the patio and the name of the restaurant. He tried to get me back every single trick in the book, but I was numb and I was completely done. That was the whole point. I didn't leave because someone told me to leave and it was not safe. I left because all of it died inside of my body. Now, was that safe? No. Would I ever tell a woman I was working with who was in physical danger to go back? No, I wouldn't. But that is why when I hear a client in the in-between, I don't give her a lecture, I don't shame her, I don't pretend the just leave is going to fix her nervous system wiring. I know to create a safe space for truth because someone did that for me and it kept me alive long enough to fully close the door and walk away free. When people ask me my style of coaching, I call it root healing, and this is what it actually looks like. This is not a methodology or a framework. This is what it looks like in real time because coaches, for the most part, in this niche can teach you how to get out, set boundaries, process feelings, organize finances, or build a timeline. It's usually just one of those things. And do they all matter? Yes, but it's not the whole thing. What I teach is the emotional exit, which is the internal and external, the financial autonomy, the funds to get out, and the relational pattern healing. So the next relationship that you get into or your relationship with yourself, you can have not just awareness, but you know to break it and heal it. So the next time you get into a situation or circumstance, you do not recreate the same prison somewhere else. So with this specific client, right now, we are not doing active healing work. This is important to share with you. If I decided to do deep trauma processing while she's in the middle of evidence collection, it would actually be dangerous for her. We are not trying to rush her nervous system into a version of her that looks done while her body is still catching up. Right now, what I am is a sounding board for the information and data she is gathering, and I am helping her see the truth inside of boundaries that actually protect her. There are other women involved. He is also sharing information. They have seen each other. There are a lot of things that are being revealed, and she is coming to conclusions on her own terms. Yes, her feelings show up in the ways they always do for women that are waking up inside of a trauma bond. I feel stupid for believing he didn't cheat. I feel stupid for thinking he loved me. I feel fucked up for staying so long. This is not just for this one client. That is very common, and that is also not the truth. Something that I always do in my coaching containers is to normalize this actually isn't them. This is the nervous system trying to find a reason that feels controllable. If she can blame herself, she can pretend that she can prevent it next time by being smarter. That's how the mind tries to survive this. What I've noticed the most is that she's more within range now. Her questions are a lot deeper, and it's not so much questioning herself in the same way. It's more so, this is how it is, this is who he is, he was like this with me and others. And people need that, right? It's enough reality that the fantasy at the relationship cannot truly survive. And before anyone tries to turn this into a rule, I will say this again. Not everyone needs every single detail about exes and ex-wives and kids and jobs. Sometimes it keeps women stuck in the external story. For this client, it's part of what her system needs in order to stop negotiating with the fantasy. She is also a high-level, high-achieving woman. She is high up in her job position. She's a mom. She co-parents with her ex-husband. She's very intuitive, capable, and she can manage things differently than someone who is experiencing active physical danger. We've been working together now since December. I have a full picture of her trauma inheritance and why this particular approach is important to her. We did deep work around her parents before she broke no contact because patterns do not start with the relationship you're in right now. Patterns started earlier than that. So if you're listening to this right now and you keep thinking this is only about the abusive relationship, it's not. Breaking no contact happens for a reason. It's a pattern. It's nervous system. It's wound. When she is done gathering, when the door closes, we move into what actually breaks it. Patterns, recognition, self-safety, self-trust, self-validation, and we heal the wounds that keep pulling her back to men who are not good to her. People like to joke about daddy issues. It's really not fucking funny. If you have a father wound, you will chase men exactly like that for the rest of your life until you heal it. I am also a byproduct of that too. So just leave is not a strategy that I support and offer to anyone. It's a sentence that people use when they don't know what else to say and when they want the story to be over so they can breathe. It ignores the part where leaving often feels worse before it feels better because the bond doesn't shut off the day you block the number. When you cut contact, your body doesn't get excited, it panics. You get restless, you have cravings, you replay things in your head, and then you negotiate with yourself. You start questioning your own memory. You miss him and you hate yourself for missing him. You want one more conversation, one more explanation, one more answer. This is not about romance, guys. That is true withdrawal. This is why women go back. It is not because they forgot what happened. It's because the body is trying to regulate the only way it learned how to in that relationship. So the exterior people, friends and family, make it worse by shaming, judging, getting angry. So she hides. Hiding makes the bond louder. And breaking no contact again makes sense because the loop is really just a trap. My job is not to tell women what to do. My job is to create safety and hold truth long enough that they can make their own decision on their own terms. The only way out of abuse is through. So I gave her the two options that she could decide what she wanted to do and leave that call with an empowered decision. And I told her I would stand behind her either way. No shame, no punishment. And a lot of people believe that evidence gathering is like checking social media an obsession. It's not spiraling through your ex because you're addicted to pain. If it becomes that, it's another way to stay bonded, right? So evidence gathering done properly is bounded. It has purpose, it has limits, and it's killing the maybe that reopens the door. Some women do not need more details. Some women do. It depends on the client and it depends on the pattern. The word bounded means she's not using it to stay connected. She's using it to collapse denial she's experiencing. She's not seeking contact for reassurance. She's watching behavior for reality. She's certainly not trying to make it work for tomorrow. She's trying to understand what she can do to close the door and walk away. So how do I know when it's time to stop gathering more information and move into pattern work? You will see the moment where the fantasy of the relationship dies within you, and that's when we move. That is when we have the opportunity to do deeper work, which we had already started, right? The trauma inheritance, the family wiring, the nervous system work, the pattern that had attached to this type of man in the first place. We begin to rebuild self-trust, self-safety, and the ability to stay gone. That is root healing coaching. Most coaches can only coach one piece. I coach all three stages of abuse: emotional exit, financial autonomy, and relational pattern healing. I'm not interested in you knowing the words of what you're experiencing and then still repeating the loop. If you listen to this and your brain is trying to decide whether you agree with me or not, you've missed the point of what I'm doing here. I'm not trying to win you over. I'm not trying to be or say the thing that makes your friends, your family, and the internet feel comfortable. My job is not to tell women what to do. My job is to hold truth, create safety, and respect your healing journey in a way that you can arrive at your own decision without being shamed into silence. Most women have never had that. They call them stupid, dramatic, delusional. They have people demanding outcomes that makes everyone else feel better while she's the one living inside the consequences. I can sit with a client in the mess without making her wrong for being human. I can respect the stage she's in without pretending the goal is to stay. I can hold space while she gathers what she needs so she can close the door fully with her own spine without the constant internal bargaining that drags women back into the loop. If you're sitting here thinking you should already be over it because you're smart, capable, successful, you've read books, you know the language, you've done therapy, and you miss him, you are not broken. Your nervous system is bonded and your pattern is still active. That is your wiring. If you've broken no contact and you feel sick with shame, you do not need punishment. You need a game plan, a safe place. You need someone who understands the internal exit, not just the visible one. There is no Band-Aid fix here for nervous system repair. And pattern recognition is great, but that is only awareness. And awareness does matter, but it is not rewiring. It's the first crack in denial. It's the moment you stop calling this a hard season and realize that your body's been living in a stress response the whole time. But you can know the pattern and still be stuck in it, right? So you can understand your trauma and still wake up craving the person that hurts you. And it's got nothing to do with your intelligence. It's because the nervous system doesn't shift because you learned how to say something. Awareness doesn't do shit on its own, and I don't mean anything more than it cannot break the bond. It doesn't stop the urge. It doesn't stop the self-abandonment reflex when your body reaches for the old relief and your body starts negotiating like it's life and death. Awareness is information, but it's not a new body response. Breaking the pattern is behavioral and nervous system based. It's what you do in the moment when your body gets activated. It's how you respond when the loneliness hits, when the guilt happens, when you think maybe I overreacted, when you want to send a message. You learn what your body is actually doing, and you stop feeding the cycle. You don't go back for one more conversation. You do not explain your boundary. You do not chase relief from the person who trained your body to crave relief from them. You get back into range without bargaining or collapsing into shame and turning every hard hour into proof that you're failing. You build a repeatable plan for the bad hours, not just the good days. That is how we heal the pattern itself. It's not just don't text him. We go into the wiring, the attachment wound, the trauma inheritance, the place where you learned that love equals tension, proving, waiting, earning, being chosen. And we teach your system what safety actually feels like, because a lot of women will leave and then they panic. And it's not because they miss abuse, it's because peace feels unfamiliar. The RR membership is where we do all of that work. It is not just understanding it. It is root healing coaching for your nervous system, the behaviors and the patterns, until your body stops treating this like relief and starts understanding that you are home. I know you want a safe place to tell the truth without being judged. You want to learn how to break the pattern instead of just saying it out loud. You want to be inside of the RR membership. It is not a content library or a place where you're told that you're strong just so you can go back out and repeat the same action. This is where we work through the emotional exit with your nervous system in mind, so you stop getting dragged around by trauma bond chemistry. It's where we unpack the pattern that kept you attached to someone who harmed you, and we get practical about what it takes to rebuild self-trust, self-safety, and a life that does not revolve around a narcissistic relationship. This month just so happens that we are working on pattern breaking and healing. Awareness is not enough. Healing is changing what you do next. And if you need eyes on your exact situation and you're looking for some private coaching, I do have a one-off private call link available below in the show notes. If you're not sure where you should be or have questions about support, please message me privately on Instagram. I answer all of my own DMs and emails. Please tell me what landed for you, what you are living in right now, and where you're stuck. I do not need a perfect story. I just need your truth. This is the Narcissist Worst Nightmare podcast, and if just leave was enough, you would have been free already.